In 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello Pokemon trainers, and welcome back to another episode of iStarlyTV. I'm Scarecrow.
And this is Dieter.
And this is another another episode of the segment Chatot's Chatter, where we just talk about Pokemon related things in the game, in the TV show, and we just kind of give our opinions about things like that. Our last episode of Chatot's Chatter was the Eevee evolutions, and particularly Sylveon, and which of the 7 or 8 are our favorites. Today we're going to start a new kind of mini-series within Chatot's Chatter, where we talk about the starters. And instead of just giving you a long-winded, exhausting episode of all 15 starters, or 20, or 18, whatever it is, we're going to just break it down into each generation. And so today, which generation are we starting with, Dieter?
We are going to start with Generation 1.
Yep, we're starting from the beginning. So basically what we're going to do is pretty much like if you saw the last Chatot's Chatter with the evolutions. If you haven't, please go check that out. Basically we just talk about each one, not necessarily each one, well I guess we could do that here since there's only 3, but we talk about the ones that we like and why, and talk about the ones we dislike and why, and we'll kind of just go into maybe, which ones we like, their evolutions, etc. So I guess I'll just start by kind of saying that this is the first generation. We wanted to start from the beginning, and this is the generation that probably has the most nostalgic and definitely the most well-known set of starters, and that is Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Pretty much everyone who knows Pokemon, and even people who don't really know too much about Pokemon, know these 3 starters just by their looks, because they've been around for so long that, they've been in so many different types of media. They've been in every single Pokemon game, or not necessarily, but anyways. Yeah, so even a lot of friends that I know that don't even play Pokemon know who these are, because who doesn't now? So with that being said, I think a popular favorite among people, who would you say, let's do that. Let's say who we think is a popular favorite among people. Dieter, who do you think?
Honestly, I think the most popular of the 3 would be Charmander.
Why is that? Are you only saying that because that's who you like the best, or is that what you think is a general opinion?
Honestly, it is not my favorite of the 3, but I just think more people know who Charmander is. They tend to like it more. They know Charizard, so... Yeah,
definitely. I agree with that part. The fact that Charizard is probably the most popular of the 3 evolutions, of the 3 starters at all. I mean, yeah, a lot of people know who Charizard is, and again, I think it's one of everyone's favorites. The Charizard Pokemon card is like one of the most rare and expensive cards.
It's cray-cray.
Pretty cray-cray. I remember when we were young and the Pokemon cards had just come out, and the card that everyone wanted was Charizard. For some reason, it was essentially the most powerful card, and times have changed.
Definitely.
So, the other 2 are still well known, but I don't think they get as much love. I mean, personally, yeah, Venusaur, who really talks about Venusaur? What do you think about Venusaur, Dieter?
I don't think of Venusaur. It's kind of lousy. It's big and fat. I like a different grass dinosaur Pokemon. Okay, now let's talk about Squirtle. I think Squirtle is awesome. He was awesome on the show, the Squirtle Squad. They were super cool, and I happen to like Squirtle a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Squirtle's actually, of the 3 first stages, I think Squirtle would be my favorite. It's the reason I got Blue version when it first came out, and I raised it all the way to a level 100 Blastoise. So I definitely have a lot of nostalgic memories of Squirtle, and from the beginning of Pokemon, it's always been one of my favorites.
Same here, Squirtle was my starter. I loved it more than Charizard and Venusaur, so that's why I just have an attachment to Squirtles. So, changing the subject, let's talk about their second stages, the lonely, long-forgotten second stages.
Yeah, I think those are long forgotten for good reason, because, when you get a starter, you get it because either you like one of those first stages, or because you want the final evolution of it. I really don't think anyone gets the starter for the second stage and wants to keep it at that second stage forever, or even that anyone really likes any of the second stages a lot. I mean, you know, Squirtle's cool, Charmander's cool, Bulbasaur's cool, and then their evolutions are really cool. But yeah, like you said, they're pretty forgotten, the second stages.
Yes, they really, really are. And you know, in these first generations, they're kind of like boring, really. I mean, Ivysaur looks very similar to Bulbasaur. Charmeleon looks more like Charizard, but still, I mean, who wants a Charmeleon? And Wartortle's just a drab.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a drab, but I do agree. Like I said before, I'm not getting these two starters or any of these starters for their second stages. I want either the first stage or the last stage. And I guess with that being said, we could maybe make a transition into the last stages and what we think about those, because those are probably the biggest reason that you would pick up any starter. They're pretty much the Pokemon that you're going to end up with at level 36 in the case of these starters. So there's Venusaur, as we've mentioned, Blastoise, and Charizard. And in terms of battling, the best one is probably Charizard. Even though now, you know, competitively, Stealth Rock kind of destroys Charizard, and Stealth Rock is really popular in competitive battles, so Charizard really does not see as much play as it could. But if you look at its stats and you look at all the moves it learns over the course of its evolution, it's really strong. It's a fire type, which is already really strong. It learns dragon moves, it learns moves like Focus Blast. So if you're not playing too competitively, if you're maybe playing casually with friends, Charizard's definitely a very strong Pokemon, and it's probably one that I would say is one that I like to use because it's pretty unique. And I mean, it's a dragon. That's why everyone loves Charizard, is because it's a dragon. Blastoise, on the other hand, it's a water type, which is really good, but its stats are pretty balanced, and it doesn't excel at anything in particular. Maybe at defenses. But you don't really want to use a Pokemon for its defenses. And it's kind of slow, kind of weak compared to Charizard. And then we have Venusaur, who, in terms of battling, Dieter, what do you think about Venusaur in terms of like its stats, its typing, and its move pool?
Venusaur is just a loser. I'm sorry, but it can barely learn, well, like through playthroughs at least. You teach it what? Sludge Bomb, Energy Ball or so, a special grass move, Earthquake.
Yes, it does learn Earthquake, but I mean, in terms of other types of moves, what else does it get?
Body Slam, which is normal. Like, you have to just... It's frustrating, really.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, and I don't know if you all agree, you who are watching this, but... You know, ignoring again the super competitive side of Venusaur, because right now Venusaur is actually the most used of the three. It is definitely better than the other two, because it has a new ability called Chlorophyll, which boosts speed and sun. But this is just, you know, this is competitive stuff that we don't often touch on, and other than in our battles. I mean, in our battle narrations, we do touch on all that stuff. But for right now, we're just talking about more of a casual player's kind of, you know, sense of these three starters. So Venusaur is definitely the weakest of the three. It's one, again, like Dieter said, if you're raising it in a playthrough of a game, like if you're playing Pokemon Red or Blue, or Pokemon Fire Red or Leaf Green, and you start off with Bulbasaur, I mean, sure, you'll do good against Brock and Misty and Lieutenant Surge, so it has that good, you know, power against the first three gym leaders. But after that, it kind of falls off, where the other ones would rise to the occasion. And, you know, it only learns moves like Razor Leaf, Vine Whip. It doesn't learn powerful grass moves until the end. And even then, it's poison type moves. Poison is just not a good type. And it doesn't learn Earthquake until later, because you can't get the Earthquake TM until probably way late in the game. So pretty much you have to rely on grass moves, poison moves, and normal moves, which against a lot of Pokemon is just not a good combination. And yeah, I definitely don't think that Venusaur, I mean, even looking at it, it just isn't anything spectacular. Maybe you'll disagree with me in the comments, but let's talk about that now, Dieter. What do you think of Venusaur's looks? Just its looks alone.
I honestly think Venusaur is cooler than Blastoise, but obviously not as cool as Charizard. I really like the fact that it's a dinosaur. It's grass.
Is it a dinosaur though?
Well, soar.
I guess that's enough. Never mind.
So, Scarecrow,
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you,
Sure.
which one is your favorite, and then Siki, and then your least favorite?
Are we talking first stages, third stages, overall?
Third stages based on looks.
Okay, third stages based on looks. That's a good question. Based on looks alone, if we're just going on looks, these three third stages are actually pretty solid. Venusaur looks really cool. It's huge. It's kind of like a moving island. It does kind of look like a dinosaur. And then we have Blastoise, who's a giant turtle with cannons coming out of its shoulders, which who can deny that that's not cool? I mean, that's awesome. And then we have Charizard, who is a fire-breathing dragon with fire at the end of its tail. That's a pretty tough choice, but in my opinion, I'd have to say I'd probably choose Charizard first in terms of looks, because again, it is a dragon, and I really don't think anyone can deny that dragons are awesome. Yeah, so with that logic alone, Charizard's the coolest. And then we have Blastoise. I would say Blastoise is second for me because it's a water Pokemon, which is cool, and you know, it can shoot water out of its cannons. It has a cannon on its shoulders, and I think it would just be so cool to have a Blastoise with you, other than Charizard. And third, last but probably not least, I would definitely say Venusaur. Compared to the other two in terms of looks, it's definitely less cool, but alone it's awesome. But that's gonna be my order. What about you?
I'm gonna have to see. Number one is Charizard. It's pretty cool. In the show it was cool. It's just awesome. But number two is Venusaur. I like the just whole concept of it. And number three would be Blastoise. It is very interesting, the design. I like the connings, but I don't know, Squirtle, you just see Squirtle in it too much.
I would argue that that's a good thing about Blastoise, is that, you know, there's that resemblance through and through, yet they're not super close. Like, the thing with me is Bulbasaur and Venusaur look like too close. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but... And it's cool how you see the progress of it growing, and it's the bulb on its back opens up and becomes a giant tree. But for me, I feel like, you know, Blastoise is just... It's just more simple, and that's kind of a good thing. But anyways, so I guess we could do the same for the first stages, maybe. I guess I'll start, and we'll do the same thing. The first stages, just the three first stages, and we'll rate them 1 to 3. We're actually going to be ignoring the second stages. They're the left out losers here. I'm just kidding. They're cool, but not what we're looking for. Anyways, I would probably say of these three, my first favorite would probably have to be Squirtle. As I explained, Squirtle's always been one of my favorites. It's a cute little turtle, and it shoots out water. But otherwise, it's just a really cool Pokemon to have, and it has a very striking appearance that I enjoy. So Squirtle's going to be number 1. Number 2, that's a close one, because Charmander isn't anything superb to me, but I might have to decide on saying that Bulbasaur would be number 2 for me. It's a little grass guy, I guess you could call him a little kind of dinosaur, and he looks happy. I don't think you could hate a Bulbasaur. And then that would make third Charmander. Charmander's cool, it has fire on its tail, it's a little fire-breathing lizard, but I mean, otherwise the other two kind of seem better to me in terms of looks. So what do you think?
Surprisingly, I have to agree with your choice. Number 1 for me is Squirtle, mainly because I just loved it since the beginning. It's awesome in the show. I even had a shirt with the Squirtle family on it. and I just love that. So number 2, of course, like what you said, was Bulbasaur. I think he's really cool, a little dinosaur thingy, and I liked his voice in the show. And my last one is Charmander. He just never really struck me.
Alright, so that's a very reasonable analysis of the 3, just based on their looks again. And so, I guess that does kind of conclude, to some degree, this video, but I guess the last thing that we can maybe do is to rate this set of starters as a set of starters. And what we're going to do is, this is hard to do out of context of the other starters, of the other generations of starters, so we'll try to keep that in mind as we do it. But we're going to do, I think, if this isn't too hard to do, we're going to try to do, Dieter and I will both rate this set of starters on a scale of Pokeball being the worst, to Master Ball being the best. So we're going to rate them from Pokeball to Master Ball, just the 3 as a whole. You know, because we have these 3 starters for Generation 1, we have another 3 starters for Generation 2, and so on. So, I guess, kind of seeing where these rank in terms of the other starters. So, Dieter, would you like to start?
Alright. So, I am gonna give this Generation 1 set of starters a Master Ball.
Ooh.
I know it's very bold and the top, but mainly because you have a lot of variation. You know, you could choose the powerful fire and flying Pokemon. You could choose Squirtle, who evolves into a defensive one and is water as well, which is great in the game. Or you could choose Bulbasaur, who helps you out a lot in the beginning. He's cool. And you just have these 3 awesome Pokemon that are great for their own reasons, and that's why I give it a Master Ball.
Wow, I don't know how I can top that. So Dieter's giving them a Master Ball, and I was actually looking at a little more of a simple way of rating these. I was going to say that, don't hate me for this, I was going to give them a Great Ball. In the context of the other starters of the other generations, I think these are very strong, if only because of their nostalgic value. I think that the biggest reason that these starters are cool, and I do not deny that they're cool, I like them a lot, but that's only mainly because of the fact that they're so, you know, cute, and we all remember them from the beginning of Pokemon, and I think they'll stick with us forever. So I really like them, but at the same time I like a lot of the other newer starters better, so sorry, don't hate me for that, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna say, I guess. Forgive me. So that was our second episode of Chatot's Chatter, where we talk about, you know, little Pokemon related things. We hope you enjoyed. We'll probably be doing a video like this for each generation of starters, so expect to see another one like this in the near future. But in the meantime, we'll also definitely have a lot of other videos from our other installments, such as Pokemon Battle Tower, Name Raiders, and so on. And we'll try some new segments as well, so there's definitely a lot of variety on this channel that you can enjoy. But thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already.
Like our Facebook, follow our Tumblr.
Yes, and go ahead and, you know, just feel free to leave a comment, letting us know what we can improve, letting us know what you liked, or just basically letting us know what you think of these 3 starters as a whole. So thank you very much for watching. I'm Scarecrow.
I'm Dieter.
And we'll see you all soon.